How to stop obsessively thinking about her. Hi, guys. My name is Apollonia Ponti. I'm a dating and relationship coach for you men to not only attract a high quality woman, but to also attract a high quality life. And if this is your first time visiting, I welcome you to subscribe to this YouTube channel as I love hearing from you and also to comment below. Now let's get into it. Before we get started, also, don't forget to download my free ebook. It's called The 7 Common Mistake ebook that men make when attracting women that a lot of you talk about, that also I know has helped so many of you. So if you're new to this channel or haven't downloaded that yet, click that link below and in the cards and you can get that for absolutely free. So let's get into it. So how to stop obsessively thinking about someone. So I want to break this down because many times we see this in first loves. We see this in like twin flame relationships, we can call them. And we also, and let me explain, twin flame relationships, quote unquote, could be relationships that really has taught us something, that has impacted us to an significant detail. And also, the third one is when you experience this intense rush of emotions. Maybe there was a trauma bonding relationship. Maybe there was a love bombing relationship, a narcissistic relationship, an abusive relationship, and a manipulative relationship. And then lastly, you start fantasizing about someone. And so you go into limerence a little bit, which I have a video about. So I want to dissect these things and why we will have these obsessive thinkings about her. And what I just discussed now was the type of relationships we can find ourselves in that will lead us to obsessive thinking. Now, it's called fantasy versus reality, which is something I've talked about for years in this channel, is something I've come up with to really understand this illusional thinking, we should say. So fantasy is the illusion in which your brain thinks it is to be true. And why we go into fantasy is because our brain thinks this to be true because we're constantly going back and thinking about the memories and when you guys walked in the park and when you guys were intimate and this and this and this, right? And this fantasy of, but she told me I loved you. She told me she wanted to start a future with me. She told me, she told me, she told me. And so we focus on all of that, and that's truly just fantasy. And so what happens here is our brain wants to go back to this because it feels good here, but then instantly it doesn't feel safe when it's not getting that connection. So it constantly wants to be served these illusional thoughts. And so what happens is our mind, which is our energy, our thoughts, get embraced by the brain, which give us that emotional reaction. The nervous system acts from there. And we know it's not to be true, but the mind continues to have these thoughts, which are fantasy, that create this illusion and this obsessiveness, this obsessive thinking, the anxiety, the now I can't sleep, all of these notions. And then reality is actually looking into someone's actions of how they show up. And the reality is the actional present moment right now and what is happening. For example, yesterday I had a coaching call with a client. Let's call him Paul, right? Paul was telling me that, basically his ex-girlfriend broke up with him through a text after 5 years, had a huge lack of respect from other things that were going on, and had a boyfriend all of a sudden and went to a wedding, and he was hanging out with a boyfriend just out of nowhere because he was sitting right by him. So Paul didn't tell him that he was her ex after 4 years, but instead what happened is after our call, when we were talking, he goes, and I go, why do you want to try to get this woman back? And he's like, well, I don't know if I want to try to get this woman back. I really just want to see how she's doing. And this is where I had to be very real with him. And what do you mean see how she's doing, right? Because he's in fantasy. She's doing just great. First of all, she broke up with you through text after 4 years. She made you sit in front of her boyfriend that she's happily with and posting photos with and was having you talk to, but yet you want to see how she's doing when she hasn't really checked up on how you were doing and really hasn't taken ownership in how she treated and ended this relationship. That is the reality. So sometimes we get so focused on how the other person is that we forget how we are. And this is what leads to this obsessive fantasy thinking and obsessively thinking about someone where our vagus system or our vagus nerve, or our nervous system, aka our nervous system, our vagus nerves get triggered, which is a nerve in our brain, one of the many nerves in our brain that will set off our nervous system and come anxiety, maybe lack of sleep will happen, maybe even some depression can happen in here. So fantasy can mean the words, fantasizing about situations, fantasizing about her body, fantasizing about her looks, what she could be like, what she would be amazing in a marriage or a mother. And we start thinking of all these narratives. It's like a movie. is playing in our head, and you're the director. But here's the thing: is it's okay when you're dating someone to think about this person, but when you just focus on this and you idolize basically situations that have happened in the past or that are just fantasy that have never happened but are possibility, like the potential of something or someone, is where we can find ourselves in trouble. And then reality is the shift again to the present moment, knowing what you bring to the table. And this is how you get out of the obsessive thinking. And I'm going to give you some notes today. So use some self-coaching for you to really amplify in your life right after this video to help you if you're going through this now. So reality is the shift of the present moment, knowing what you bring to the table and just looking for someone to have a valuable supper with, basically. Let me repeat that. Reality is the shift of the present moment, knowing what you, the guy that's watching this video, that handsome man right there, knowing what you bring to the table and just looking for someone to have a valuable supper with, right? You don't need someone to bring you the table. You get it? Get it? I want you to get it. You do not need someone to bring you to the table. Tell me below, do not need someone to bring you the table. Comment below so I know that is in you. Actions and compatibility live in reality. Someone's actions and someone's compatibility, not the chemistry, which I have a whole video about chemistry versus compatibility, and I'll put it up in the cards for the watch next video. But actions and compatibility live in reality. Remember, dating is an assessment process, and dating sometimes is difficult most of the time, right, guys? And the harder it is to get over someone is because there's a true lesson in this. So many times we think because we're amplified emotionally that this is the one. And many times it's actually the opposite notion, and it's because this person walked into your existence to prepare you for that person that might be that one. And so in order for you to stop obsessively thinking about we need to start getting our our thoughts, also known as thoughts, into the reality. And so what I have a lot of people do when they're in this headspace is pros and cons lists, positive, negative lists, line down the middle. And I want you to write down all the positives and all the negatives. And once you do that, you are to look at the positives and say, is this something that you've seen? Is this true? Do you have proof that this woman has done this? Like, let's say that she's like, oh, she's so respectful, but yet, is it true? Well, no, because she broke up with me during text message and she really hasn't checked in on me. She really doesn't care. She basically threw all my clothes away without even asking, things like this. So why are we pushing this notion of that she's respectful? Let's erase that and let's focus on the real pros and the real cons, right? And so this is how we step back into the reality and start to know what we bring to the table. Remember, you're just looking for someone to have a valuable supper with. You do not need someone to bring you the table. If you want to get better at really attracting your dream woman and embodying the presence of a better woman into your life, I want you to I really would encourage you to watch this free training video on how to attract your dream woman and become better aligned with the woman of your dreams so you can attract her into your life and you don't have to obsessively think about a woman that doesn't deserve your time. I want you to choose a woman who deserves your time just as much as she deserves yours and you deserve hers. Now watch that free training video on how to attract your dream woman. It is up here and below in the description box as well. And let me know about what you're going through in the comments. I'd love to personally respond to you as much as possible. As always, guys, I am here for you. I much love to every single one of you. And remember, you are always loved, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.